Alrighty, alrighty. Hello, hello, hello. What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we are here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. This is episode 591. I am your host, Steve V, alongside Kodi Maurice Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful here in Queens. Am I pronouncing that right? Queens? And it's
That's
this new
one
place
way of
I'm just
saying
discovering.
it. I love it. A queen in
But
Queens. Who knew?
oh, I'm a queen. Yes, I am,
I
darling.
love it. I want to thank you for holding down the fort last week with Teddy Alexis when I
We
was
missed you, but it was a
in
pleasure.
upstate. What's up?
We missed you, but it was a pleasure.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, I was in upstate New York. I was actually in Boyceville at a place that you and I have stayed at before. Our friend Kyle Applegate, who's been a guest on this show, Reverend Kyle Applegate, and we stayed at his Airstream by the Stream. And those interested that want to look into exploring upstate New York, I highly recommend staying on his Airstream by the Stream. It's an Airstream back in the day. You stayed in it at one point
Mm-hmm.
too. I stayed in it with my boyfriend Diego, and we had a great time. It was so much fun. We went hiking every single day. We went into Woodstock. We went to wineries. There's a lot of different wineries. And we went to some really good restaurants in Woodstock, as well as some gay bars in Kingston. Shout out to Unicorn Bar, and just had like a really great time. So, and Bryce, who's watching us live, says he's from upstate New York. That's great. I loved it. And yeah, Boyceville is the town that we were in. But we made the rounds and just had a really fun summer holiday, fun, adventurous, romantic, all those stuff that you'd want to have.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was really good. So, really good time there. We want to remind everybody that we are live tomorrow with our Patreon community live stream, and we want you to join us if you can. We are live at 9 p.m. Eastern time, and you can grab a tier still by going to our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/tags podcast. And we're going to be telling stories that you don't normally hear on this show. We have a whole studio setup that's going to be completely different from this setup. We've been setting that up, technically rehearsing, and Kodi is going to be singing live 4 songs. Are you ready, Kodi?
I'm getting ready, but I'm definitely excited. I can't wait to sing these songs and share this with all the people, and I can't wait to be on like a live stream performance with you. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we're setting up kind of a cool vibe that's a lot different from this show, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, if you want to join us, go to patreon.com/tags podcast, grab a tier, and you can join us. If you can't make it, it will be live on there that you can watch at any point in time. It will be there for you, all packaged neatly up for you to view and watch at your convenience. But also, if you don't feel like grabbing a tier and you just want to get some free content, we are starting to post a lot of behind the scenes content and some really cool content that is only available on there. So just go over to our Patreon page anyway, patreon.com/tags podcast, and get the free stuff because
That's right.
it gives you a little bit more insight into us. Well, okay, we have got a lot to get into on this show, including Republican Vice President candidate J.D. Vance. There was a picture that resurfaced about him in drag. Of all people, it's always, is this the new Katara, Kodi? Because it is crazy. Somebody posted it that they had obtained a photo of J.D. Vance in drag while he was at Yale Law School. And it turned out it was sent to him by a former Yale student to about Vance. And I don't know if you saw the picture,
I did.
Kodi, but he is in this awful, it was for Halloween, but interesting choice for somebody that is very anti-LGBTQ. It's a
Right.
really bad wig, a really bad blonde wig. He looks kind of like a schoolgirl. And many were quick to comment on Vance's stance regarding LGBTQ plus rights. I mean, previously, he called opponents of Don't Say Gay legislation groomers, and he's opposed the US Census, adding questions about gender identity, and introduced a failed bill to ban X gender markers on US passport. He's also introduced a bill aimed at preventing minors from accessing gender affirming care. And GLAAD maintains a fuller list of Vance's comments regarding LGBTQ rights, which is really extensive. First of all, I just want to know what you thought of this, and then we'll continue about how the queens were opening up the library to read him.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Well, thing I have to say about JD Vance is he's a walking contradiction at this point. He is the most regrettable VP choice, potential VP choice in as far as I can remember, because he's giving that side a little bit more like controversy and indifference and just looking like a fool out here on the world stage. And I know that Trump is regretting picking him at all. For someone who has so much anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric, for him to even being dragged is a walking contradiction. So I can't believe it. It's hilarious to look at, because have you seen that dry, crusty wig? It's just the worst. So sashay away.
One of the worst wigs ever. And, you know, people were having a field day like, what would his name be? You were sharing with me in our meeting earlier that apparently at one point in college, he was humping a sofa. Do you have more information on that? Because the queens had some names based on that story.
I thought it was because, and it's been debunked, so it's not really important why this sofa humping was attached to him. But I thought it was because his wife was pregnant and she didn't want to have, I don't remember. It was something while he wasn't in college, I don't think. It was while he was married and his wife was upstairs and he was downstairs humping the sofa.
Got it. Well, based on that alleged story, names that came up that related to that story were things like Sofa Lauren, Ivana Cushion, Courtney.
I like that one.
I like that one too. Courtney Loveseat were a few of the fun ones that were thrown around, but there was a few others that people came up with, like Ashley Furniture, which is a great one.
Yeah.
Celine Devon, I don't really get that one, but I do get Jennifer Convertibles. I think is a really good. Betty Satay is another good, and Miss Sofa You Love was another one that people came up with. And you know, another picture's come out of him in the same look, and this isn't really going away. He hasn't addressed it though, but the library was certainly open when a bunch of drag queens from Drag Race, you know, if you ever watch the show, they open up the library because that means they are going to read. And they had some really cool things to say, including Alaska from All Stars 2 winner. She sent 4 reads in. She said, I think he looks great. He's a dead ringer for Angela from The Office. This isn't alt-right, it's alt-wrong. The only crown he's going to get in this look is from his dentist. Great one. And this look isn't turning heads, it's turning stomachs. Really fun reads. Also, Jackie Beat was quick to say, no wonder Republicans are terrified of drag. This is what they've been looking at. I'm going to guess his stage name is Connie Version Therapy, which is a great one. She also said that the hairline on that Halloween headquarters wig is lower than the attendance at Trump's rallies. That is hilarious and an amazing read. Maybe a girl. Do you know who that is?
I'm not quite sure who that is, but
okay. She's from Silver Lake out Los Angeles. She said, please welcome to the stage Anita Couch. She gives Loveseat a whole new meaning. And William from LA says, after seeing JD Vance in drag, it's 100% understandable why he thinks it should be criminalized. His poor mirror doesn't deserve all that ugly. Ooh. And they went on and on. I'll post some of these on our Patreon page, our free page. You can read through them. What did you think of some of these one-liners? And how are you going to be why do these Republicans keep coming out with drag photos, and they're so against our community. What do you make of that?
I just think it's the reads are amazing. I think Willem, hands down, has one of the best ones. Alaska is
Yeah.
so just snappy, and this is the thing you want to do with a queen. Like, you want to give them fodder so that they can just come back, because they are the sharpest and the wittiest people that out there in the world.
I love it. Cali Dad watching us live says that guy liner he wears is hilarious. It does look like he's always wearing guy liner for some reason. I don't know if that's real or
Right?
not. Someone said Tim Waltz is the only one of the POTUS and VP candidate who doesn't wear makeup. And also, Khalidad says the reads are tremendous. Yeah, I have a feeling that we're going to continue to hear these up until election, and hopefully we won't have to hear from him again because he won't be the vice president. Just
That's
putting
right.
that out there. But anyways, kind of crazy. And yeah, you just got to love it. Well, I wanted to talk about this the other day, moving on here. We all know Joaquin Phoenix, major Academy Award winner for The
Hmm.
Joker. By the way, I love that. The Joker 2 is coming out, I believe, later this year, also with Lady Gaga uh, in it as well. And what role does she
Ooh,
play? She plays the
Harley? Does she play
yeah,
Harley?
she plays Harley.
Love it.
And I actually loved Joaquin Phoenix in The Joker. It was dark. It wasn't that gimmicky style of the Joker that we've seen come out of Batman throughout the years.
Hmm.
Did you watch the movie?
Yeah, it was really good. I need to rewatch it because I'm when the new one comes out, I want it to be nice and fresh in my mind. But I enjoyed his performance. It was very uh, uh it grounded the Joker a lot for a lot of people.
Gave a lot of insight into his background on how he became the Joker. Was a lot about like mental illness and
Hmm.
just dark and not so superhero-y, but really gritty. And he did such a good job. However, now he was set to play in a brand new Todd Haynes film. I love Todd Haynes. He's done May December. He did Carol. He's done a film with Kate Winslet that I've loved before in the past. And he's such a amazing director. And Joaquin Phoenix brought this idea to the studio with Todd Haynes in mind to co-write and direct. And the movie was actually going to get an NC-17. It was going to be a gay romance for
Hmm.
Todd Haynes about two men in 1930s LA who fall in love and have to flee to Mexico. And who was he going to have play opposite him was Danny Ramirez. Do you know Danny Ramirez?
No, but I saw that picture and I was like, oh, I need to look up Danny Ramirez.
He was in a movie with that got some acclaim with Tom Cruise, and
Oh.
he was making his way into it. Okay, so the story goes that days before production on this untitled film, Phoenix himself was on ready to go, and again, mind you, it was his idea. He helped
Hmm.
co-write this film. It's a very intimate film set in the 30s, like I said, but he actually wanted the NC-17 rating because he wanted the sex scenes to be really real, raw, and to go there. And apparently, allegedly, they reported that he got cold feet at the 11th hour and backed out completely, leaving everybody high and dry.
Yeah.
And when they had already set to film this in Guadalajara. They had created sets. Like I said, cast and crew were ready to go. This
Yeah.
was the other actors going to be a big film for him. Everybody's out of work now. And because it was his idea, Joaquin, that no one knows they're not going to scrap the whole film because it's like not even worth recasting at this point. And what a waste. And
Yeah.
somebody commented and I kind of agree, this is why, to the argument why we only have gay actors play gay roles, is because we always seem to cast big names, big straight names, heterosexual names in big productions that have gay roles in them. And then this
Uh-huh.
is what happens. This wouldn't happen if we casted somebody that like Luke Evans, who would gladly go there. And I just think it's a strange move. And what did you think when you heard about this and putting all these people out of work?
Yeah, I think that's the worst part for me. The crew is out of work just because he got cold feet. That's just ridiculous to me, and it's unacceptable. Um, but the more I thought about it, because we had our meeting beforehand, and you were saying that uh, that's why we should hire more gay actors, and I agree with that. I agree that more gay actors should be in more gay roles, but for me, Joaquin does not strike me as the type of person to shy away from a gay role. But I mean, it looks like that's what he did in this case. I just kind of want to pick his brain a little bit more to see where he's coming from with all of this, because he seems so gung ho. For him to just switch up at the 11th hour is it just seems uncharacteristic for me as far as he goes and what I know of him and who I've come to know of him as an actor, basically. Maybe not as a person, because like he can be a little kooky sometimes, but he still seems to be like an artist and somebody who is dedicated to his craft. So this is really out of left field for me.
Yeah, and sadly, because of Todd Haynes and the direction this film was going to go, it looked like something that I would totally want to see. But
Right?
what a tainted stain he's put on not only this film and a lot of these actors, but I mean, I doubt it will affect the upcoming Joker 2, just because that's such a highly anticipated film that everybody really wants to see. But
Mm-hmm.
if that film's coming out in the next few months, I'm not sure what the date is set, but I believe it's this year, that he's probably going to get questions on that, and he better have some good
Oh
answers for it,
yeah.
because a lot of people, these days, if you don't say something exactly right, it could actually, people might not want to support you, and that's strange behavior. And I don't,
Oh,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so
And the first thing you learn as a gay man that if you're already at Trade's house and just because he has a picture that's 10 years old on Grinder and he doesn't look like that anymore, you still fuck him anyway. So he should learn that here. Still fuck Danny anyway, okay?
no, you don't. You always have a choice in the end, but the stakes aren't as high as $1 million production set
True,
as
you're
a
right. You're
hookup
right.
on Grinder. But
Okay,
I
maybe I was
like it.
joking.
Khalidad says Joaquin is said to be very method, so maybe he's going deeper into his research. I mean, I guess in response to that, this was his idea. It was his idea to make the scenes even deeper, darker, more sexual, and then to back out. It's like, are you so method that you couldn't even handle your own method that you came up with? It was I mean, it's just, come on.
Yeah.
So he has some explaining to do. Okay, well, we've got to move on from Joaquin to one last thing on that. Wrestler Anthony Bowens has kindly offered to step into the role of Joaquin Phoenix. And I'm kind of here for it too, because there's not that many out wrestlers, and he's hot. I don't think
He is
he's right for this
super
role, and he doesn't
fine.
have a list of credits that are that extensive. But I mean, hey, I like that he put it out there. So come on, Anthony Bowens, put your name in the ring. Maybe Luke Evans will too, and we can get this film made, because it sounds really good. And Todd Haynes
Yeah.
is such an amazing director. It's such a shame. All right, well, gay men hate it if you do this in a dark room. What am I talking about? Well, a viral tweet highlighted something that most gay men seemingly hate should it occur in a dark room. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about unwanted attention or touching. Well, actually, no, but that should be it. Name calling, no. If you visit a venue with a friend and they call out your name because they can't find you and want to leave. So let's just say Kodi and I were in there, and I'm like, hey, Kodi, where are you? Is that you on
Take
your
that dick
knees
out of your
there?
mouth.
I feel like this happened to you before, where somebody actually recognized either your laugh or you from the podcast and called you out. Am I right on that?
They did. I feel like I was done. So it didn't make my heart on go away. So I had just finished and I was walking out of the darkroom area and they were like, oh my gosh, Kodi. Well, they didn't say, oh my gosh. They were probably just like, hey, Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. And that was it. And I was like, oh my gosh, somebody recognized me after I'm a loud comer. So I think that I came very loudly and I guess they know my voice. So
I think it's a no. I think it's fine to come up to people in general. I mean, Princess Daddy on Twitter, because it elicited a whole slew of responses. And Princess Daddy said, calling your friend's name in the dark room, telling him it's time to go is hilarious. Well, Lil Zaddy said, nah, it's sick and evil when my friend does this to me. Leave me alone. Royal at Royal 49 said, especially when they are in the middle of getting bodied, laughing out loud. Somebody said, one time me and my friend came up with a made up name for these situations. That's pretty good, I guess. Just don't respond to that name because they're still going to know that you're talking to them. Somebody else said, Savannah Couture said, my friend did this to me once and I died. Calling your friend's name, yeah, is just no. And lastly, Leo Herrera said, I did this once because I was on LSD and I blurted out my friend's first name, but I thought he might not know I was referring to him because my dumbass was tripping. So I screamed out his entire first and last name thinking I was being helpful.
my God.
He wanted to kill me. And it goes on, but yeah, rule of thumb, it should be in the handbook. Don't scream your friend's name out. Send them a text. Give them a minute to respond. But, if you have to go, trust that they're just having a good time. I mean, I don't see any problem of just leave. I just leave. I send a text. If I want to go, I leave. And but I send a text, or usually I'm not the one leaving. It's people, they send me a text.
It's me.
Yeah. But do you agree? Yeah, you're usually texting me like I'm out and I'm see it later. And I'm like, great. Had a great time.
So with you, I'm able to do that and we're able to have that connection where we can just send a text and know that everything's going to be okay. Some friends are not like that. Some friends, you have to set a time to leave. So if that time doesn't come and they're not responsible enough to let you know that they're going to be longer, then they deserve for their name to be called in a dark room, because I mean, they said that they were going to be here at this time, and I'm talking about myself sometimes because I was a little late to the pre-meeting today, so I should be more responsible and cognizant of other people's time. So I think that that's the only time is when you set a distinct moment where you're going to meet in order to leave, and if that doesn't happen, then yell their name because they're asking for it. I honestly thought you were going to say, okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I thought you were going to say that what people don't like in the dark room is people taking pictures, because I've had that happen to me too.
Well, that is a definite no. I mean, rule number one, you never bring your camera, turn on lights, flashes. First of all, it's a dark room, so you'd have to turn on your flash. And that is probably should be an obvious one, but a definite no. You will get probably kicked out from all the people that are just pissed off at you. I would never turn that on. And unless it's a flashlight from security, then no, never do that. But Bryce says, watching us live, a text, come on, haha. Well, I think the best rule of thumb is if you're going with some people that you, in general, if you don't really know the protocol, tell everybody up front, like, hey, what's our protocol because if it's a cruise bar, and if I'm thinking about the ones I like to go to, there's different areas and you're going to want to split up at some point. You're not like traveling in this like group thing. It's not like a drag bar or a typical gay bar where you're buying each other's drinks and laughing it up and dancing. A cruise bar is very specific, and there's little areas and nooks and crannies that you might want to explore. So I say just at the very beginning, maybe go in all together, get the lay of the land together, buy a round everyone get a drink and have a little chit chat at first. And then somebody just say, hey, what's tonight's protocol? If we're cool, should we just send a text? Does anybody want to be like found before anybody leaves? I mean, I hope that answer would be no, because I'm not trying to hold my friend. We're all adults, and I don't really. Kodi has this thing like if you're hanging out with him, it's like text me when you get home, and I'm like, I'm fine. Like I've been going home on my own for the last 50 years. I think I can
I
handle
just
it.
care about you, boo.
I know, but I just think fine, but then come up with those rules. I would say though, just text me, because don't come finding me. I am a big boy. I got it. And if you want my GPS, I'll give it to you in the event of, knock on wood, that shouldn't happen. But I don't want, yeah, like leave me alone if we're in this kind of environment to that other person's
And I
remark.
do. And I do. And you leave
I
me alone and
mean,
I'm perfectly happy.
totally. We leave each other alone, and a simple text, I think, like, "Hey, have a good night. I'm out," or something like that, I think is
Yeah.
fair. Yeah.
It works for us.
Yeah. But
But
by
everybody else
all
should find their
means,
own groove.
exactly. Okay. This is interesting. Sorry, moving on here. A year after the blood donation ban was lifted, the question is, are gay men donating? Well, it has been a year since the FDA finally lifted its long-standing ban on blood donations from gay and bisexual men. And this was a milestone because for years and years and years, it was a huge step for equality and changed the years of people really feeling stigmatized. And a lot had to do with HIV. It was an old rule that assumed that all gay men had HIV, and it was in the books forever. And it wasn't until 2023 that this was actually lifted. And since the ban was lifted a year ago, gay and bisexual men have been stepping forward to donate, seizing the opportunity to contribute to a critical cause. You can save lives with this kind of thing. But previous restrictions were stigmatized by, like I said, HIV and AIDS, and new guidelines are focused on individual risk assessment rather than sexual orientation. Well, many gay men, Kodi, actually now have been donating. And there was a whole story on Fox 5 that is related to the story that I'm talking about right now here in New York, that two partners that were really excited. They used to donate back in the day, and they felt really ostracized that they couldn't donate anymore. And now they're back in the chair donating blood, and they feel part of society again. Their words. And what I think this story shows, which is really good, is that we are allowed to donate, but what it fails to do, and I know this because I did some research on my own, is that if you are on Truvada PrEP, you will be turned away still. And when I tried to donate blood several years ago, that was my story. I believe it was at the beginning of COVID, and I had no idea of those old rules, which were still intact. But when they asked questions, are you on any medication? And I said, PrEP, Truvada, I was immediately eliminated. And I think
Oh,
people
wow.
should know that, because this story doesn't really say that. And while it is a milestone, you know, it's a lot of us are on life-saving Truvada that is preventing HIV from proliferating. And I'm sure there's a scientific method as to why. Maybe it's that lapse period. I don't know. Or maybe it's the fact that Truvada is 99% affected, but what about that 1%? Even though they keep your blood for 3 months and check it,
And they
even
test it.
though, or maybe it's they don't know what your actual sexual activity really is, and maybe you skipped Truvada a few days. And we all know at this point that if you skip it one day, it's 98% effective, and so on and so forth, going down the percentile. I don't know what it really is, but I just thought, well, it's a good move forward and people are excited. People should also know that if you are, like a lot of us on Truvada, you will be turned down. So I just wanted to put that out there. I don't know if you had anything to add to it.
Oh yeah. Well, they test the blood anyway because people lie. I could walk into somewhere, a blood bank, and tell them all of these lies, and they would take my blood. So they have to test it in order to make sure that they would never know anything unless they test the blood. So I don't see what the purpose of all of these things are. They're basically just discriminated against gay men. So I find it very discriminatory and an unfair practice, in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean, it's several steps forward, thank goodness. And there's a lot of men that aren't on Truvada that will fit the bill to be able to donate now. And that's a huge triumph for our community. And thank goodness, because this is life-saving blood. But Bryce, watching us live, says it's okay. It was just a lot of potential. Oh, excuse me. If you are on antidepressants, you'll be turned down, according to Bryce. And that wasn't in this story, but that's interesting too, because I'm not sure what that would have to do with your blood, but on the viability of your blood potentially helping save a life. But
yeah,
there's that too. But I just wanted people to know, because when you do go to these, if the part of the story was making people feel part of the community again, you won't, because you will be turned down if you are on Truvada. And just something to know and keep in mind. But it is a landmark move forward with these stipulations. So, okay,
yes.
moving. Yeah, this is a crazy story that I wanted to know if you participate in. And we were going to ask each other. We said this in our meeting, but there's a new study that finds sexual strangulation has actually become more mainstream. But the question is it safe? And this study came from Australia, says that a large number of young people have experimented with strangulation. And the more you read into this story, a lot of it has to do with heterosexual couples, but also within our own community as well, where the dominant would be strangling the more submissive. And the study was published last month in the Archives of Sexual Behavior, and it found that 60% of young Australians from 18 to 35 reported being choked or choking a partner during sex. It surveyed 4,700 people, young people. 57% said they'd been choked at least once during sex, and 51% said they choked a partner. Well, it made its way over to the U.S., and a study here with just over 4,000 university students in the U.S. in 2021, 26.5% of women and 6.6% of men and 22.3% of transgender and gender non-binary participants reported a partner choking them during their most sexual recent encounter. So, and then you finally get to gay men. Here's what the results showed. One-hand strangulation was the most common, reported 75%, followed by two-handed strangulation at 21%. A third said they first experienced with choking between 19 to 21. Gay and bi men were more likely to have been choked than straight men, and half of the trans non-binary respondents said choking played a part in their most recent sexual behavior. So this is interesting, but what doctors want to warn is that when you're really choking somebody, if you don't really know what you're doing, you're cutting off the circulation of somebody. And what that can do, depending on the amount of time you do it, it's cutting off blood to the brain. And further stories, I will post this on TAGSPodcast, show there have been a significant problem of actual neural problems of women that have reported being strangled throughout the years, and they've had neurological problems with their brain, and it could be long term. And I just will go first. I haven't really experienced this much. I really don't like anything that cuts off my air. I think I love to breathe. I think we all should. I've experimented a lot over the years with a lot of fetishes, and I'm talking things like, just name a few of them: fisting, spanking, flogging, all kinds of kind of out there fetishes. But this one where you cut off asphyxiation or anything to do with my airwaves, I don't like it. I don't like to feel like I'm going to hyperventilate. I don't like cutting off my airwaves. I think I've always just been conscious because I've always been, either a personal trainer, all about the breath. I breathe all the time. I take deep inhales to me, cutting off circulation is cutting off life. I don't like it. I don't want anybody to do it to me. I think these doctors are right on. I don't want to find out years down the road that I now have brain damage because of some moment in time in the bedroom. Not for me. And I'm glad people are really doing studies on this stuff because it's dangerous.
Yeah, I agree with you. If people don't know how to do it correctly,
And I
um,
don't know that people really do know
and
because,
I don't think that people really do know, because you're talking about cutting off your breath, your asphyxiation, but the way that I have been informed to do it, because it's something that I do enjoy, actually, light choking though, not anything to where you're cutting off airflow, because you're, from what I understand, you're supposed to choke on the side of the neck as opposed to where the esophagus is, or your larynx is, because it's more about cutting off the blood flow as opposed to cutting off the airflow. So, but I would encourage people to do more research, and because if you do it incorrectly, then yes, all of these things can transpire that are very negative and can even lead to death. So, I have not indulged in this in some times. I feel like I was more into it when I was younger. So nowadays, it's something that I do very infrequently and very lightly. I don't know, something about having hands around your neck and just kind of like it's very intoxicating for me.
yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lesson to be learned and had, and maybe there is. Maybe I don't know that, and maybe we can have somebody on that knows, a
I would love
professional.
to.
But if even people that are experiencing it, I'll say two things, are cutting off the circulation for a period of time, and you're living beyond that, but the potential damage that it could be doing over long term,
Brain
that's what
damage, baby.
scares me. And so I would say do your research on that. And then number two is, I think a lot of people just do it. Women have gotten into it, like trans people have told me, and dom subs have found, just because of the nature of a dominant and a submissive, that it's
Mhm.
just kind of a natural thing to kind of do. But and people just let them do it to them, and I don't think that that's right. I think that this is potential risky behavior that could kill somebody, but actually long term be doing damage. If you cut off too much of your circulation for even a little time, it might not kill you now. But if you're doing this regularly, the study I will post this on Tags Podcast, can show neural damage over time. And do you want to,
Okay.
like, someday be in your 70s and have a doctor say you have some neurological damage? Why could this be? And it would be like, all those years that I did that, it's like I let this person do this to me. So I think it's a question of being aware, doing your research. If it is something you like, find out if there is a safe way. I don't know the answer right now. Maybe we will have somebody on the show, but
I
this is
would love
scary
to.
shit to me. I love sex, and I want to continue to explore sex in many different ways, but I don't like this idea. Nobody gets to cut off my circulation. I'm all about the breath, and no, and it's a hard no. It's a hard no. It's no. I don't want someday to a doctor telling me that, what did you do? And I was stupid. I let somebody like strangle me, and I didn't know. It's like, no, 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 no. And fine, then you do it. But I'm not going to be a victim of this, and absolutely not. And this
Yeah.
story just proves that. So
Yeah. Well, if the doctor asked me about my neurological damage, I would feel like I have a long list of things that it could possibly be from.
well, you joke, but I just think it's a serious business. Bryce says strangulation during orgasm makes them 10 times stronger. Yeah, it's a thing. I get it. But is it safe over the long term? And it's something to just look into. And so, yeah, that's all. Have fun, but look at the long
Be
term
safe.
studies. Yeah.
Yes.
And do your research. And maybe, like I said, I'll try and find somebody that will know a little bit more about this. Is there a proper way to do it? I'll check in with some of our panel that have been on the show that are experts in these
Ooh.
fields. Let's keep on with the studies, because this one I think you're going to like. You may have not liked the last one that I did, but this one I have a feeling you're going to like. a study finds that men should ejaculate more because it could lower cancer risk. So
Ooh,
this is good. Did I back it up with a more positive one?
love it.
It's
I
good.
like that from Ejaculate.
It's good news for guys who come a lot. Your risk of developing prostate cancer goes down the more you ejaculate. It's a study that the clinical genitourinary cancer looked at 11 studies featuring nearly 150,000 total participants, and the studies were conducted between 1990 and 2023. And it showed existing studies dating back 30 years found the more often men ejaculate, the less likely they are to develop prostate cancer. There's been newer studies as late as last year that also support coming at least 21 times per month. And I kind of like this because for a period in time, I was talking to people of the Tantra world, and I was friends with somebody that, she was really big on Tantra, but not releasing and ejaculating because she believed that you reduce a lot of your strength, and just it's not good to always be ejaculating and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, I just think it needs to come out, and I think it's a relief for a lot of us. And I'm sorry if it can, at least for men, this was a woman telling me this, but
Hmm.
if this could reduce prostate cancer, which is
Yeah.
something that plagues a lot of men, I'm here for it.
Oh yeah, me too. As soon as you sent me the story, I went and jacked off. I was like, I got to get my nut in for the day. But I think this is great. I think that more people should know about this because prostate cancer is a huge debilitating thing in our culture right now. So I think the more that people can do things to prevent it, then the better off we'll be as a society. And you know what? Next time I have sex with my little boo thing, I'm gonna tell him, baby, we're doing it to fight cancer. So get in gear, okay?
There you go. I love it. Okay, let's keep this conversation going. And we had to talk about Major League Baseball player Jarren Duran. Did you hear about this?
I
He's
wish I
on.
had a
He
drink.
plays for the Red Sox, Major League Baseball, and he was essentially at bat, ready to go, and apparently wasn't doing that great at it. And apparently, somebody in the stands was screaming out of him at him like, "Hey, you should really have a tennis racket in your hand. Essentially, like you don't know what you're doing out there." He turned to the guy, but by the way, he's uh 27, and told him basically, he used the F word, not
Yeah,
fuck, but he called him a like shut up faggot, essentially.
yeah,
He said it to him, and that went viral, and he has since apologized for hurling, the homophobic slur at a fan. His apology, I don't know, seemed a little bit contrite, if you will, because while he was apologizing, and he did seem overly sincere about it, by the way, the league got wind of all this and said that he will not be able to play for the next two to three games, which will amount, and not get paid for it, which will amount to like $8,000. I'm sure he gets paid huge buco bucks. They will donate that money to PFLAG for some reason, but which, okay, great. And in an interview after Jarren was professing his apology, he had a t-shirt on that was a little bit reminiscent of Melania Trump. Remember when she wore that jacket that said "I don't really give a damn," I believe it said? Well,
unfortunately, I remember.
his t-shirt said "fuck 'em" on the front of it. And it was like, is that really the t-shirt you want to wear when you're on an apology tour? His apology, did you watch the video? It seemed a little bit forced in many ways. It also seemed sincere. I don't know him at all, but it also seemed an interesting choice to kind of wear that t-shirt, and I just couldn't help but think, wow, the Olympics are officially over, because the Olympics are all kumbaya, and I mean there's a few controversies here and there, but in general it's so happy, and it's about joining nations together, competing for the golds and
Right.
people's hearts, and there's such a camaraderie between all of the various global nations coming together for this 4 time a year amazing feat. And that's now over, and we're back to Major League Baseball, and we're hearing the F word slurred out
And getting
there,
called
and
F
somebody
words.
with a t-shirt that says fuck them. I mean, it was such a like, here we go, we're back to regular old sports again.
Yeah, ridiculous. Anyone that had true remorse for saying that word would never wear a t-shirt that said fuck 'em on the front, because basically he's telling all of us and
To
all of his
go fuck yourself.
detractors exactly to go fuck yourself, because our opinions don't matter. He can say whatever he wants to say. He is a baseball god or king or whatever. I don't know. I don't watch it, so I don't know who this man is. I have no idea. But if he had any respect for the LGBTQ plus community, he would not even say that word in the first place. Hell, if he had any respect for gay men, he wouldn't use that word. So I think it's just ridiculous. He needs to probably go volunteer in in the community, so that he could see how that word actually affects us when somebody like him says it. So I think he's got a lot of learning to do, and those 3 games that he's out and they donate his money somewhere, that's not going to do anything. That's like a drop in the bucket to that man, and he already thinks that we're all idiots. So uh, he just is disgusting to me right now.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, he apparently said he's never used that word ever, which I find that hard to
Oh,
believe, because, when you're in the heat of the moment, you don't just come up with a word that I've never done that before, rarely, unless I'm trying to impress a celebrity that I've never met. And then I come up with all kinds of words that are flowery and interesting. But when I'm angry, I stick to the basics pretty much. So that
yeah.
seems a little not believable. And then the other thing is, he said he's going to try and do better, and he's going to educate himself, but he didn't say how he was going to educate himself. So it seems kind of like a wash that the league is restricting him. He seems like he's trying to say, quote unquote, the right things, but also sort of a wink and a nod to his homophobic side wearing that t-shirt, because
Yeah.
that would not be maybe the day to wear that t-shirt if you're trying to ask for contrition and show your empathetic side to what you have actually done. It just doesn't really compute. And I don't know, somebody didn't say anything to him, and it just seemed like they're just kind of a wash of it all. So I don't really believe it either. Of course, we'll see. But Kodi, the Olympics are over, by the way.
Right? But if you
Yeah.
watch, they have video of him actually saying it, because Mike picked it up. So he says it so nonchalantly. To your point, this is not it's not something that he had to think about in order for him to say it. It comes out of his mouth so naturally. It's ridiculous. He didn't even say it like angry, like fucking blah blah
Yeah.
blah. He was just like fucking da, da, da. Like it was normal for him. It was
Oh,
wild
yeah.
to me. So yeah.
Yeah. Whatever, Jarren. We're on to you. Okay. Well, we were talking about on episode 590 if we were having a Brat summer. You and I have had a Brat summer. And I just wanted to read a listener that was on our side. I am Sean, said a great episode. I think Brat is just about escaping this crazy reality we're in by any means. After all, girls just want to have fun, even if it's just a moment of distraction from the pain we are too tired to face in this moment. He tagged both of us because both of us were celebrating our Brat summer, and I was saying that
Right.
I'm having a Brat summer because I keep talking about my boyfriend, and he's like, enough already, I get it. And I keep slamming it down everyone's throat, but I'm like, oh, and I keep dancing around in my underwear, and I've been having a lovely Brat summer, and I'm all here for it.
Love it.
Well, now apparently fall is coming. Wah, wah. And now the internet is obsessed with being demure. thanks to a TikTok trend. And apparently it's set to take over Brat's summer as we're winding down. I always hate when, don't you notice that any other season, Kodi, we don't wind it down, but everybody always wants to wind down summer. It's like back to school, fall's coming, let's get serious. It's just like, it's the only season, it's the most fun season, I feel, out of all of them. And it's the one that we always want to wrap up and say, like, let's get back to work. And it's like, I'm, by the way, working all summer, working pretty hard, but I can still have a Brat summer. And
That's right.
might carry it into the fall. But
I was going to say,
this trend is apparently wanting to take over, and it's called Demure. And as people are pulling away from the pool parties, long nights at the club, and hookups, some people are actually saying Demure, back to a way that is, you know, showing up to work in the right clothes. Well, that's just an obvious one, I think. And there was a Jules LeBron is kind of responsible, and there's a few other TikTokers that are gaining a lot of traction on what do they mean by being demure. I don't want to come to work with a green cut crease. I don't like a clown when I don't look like a clown when I go to work. I don't do too much. I'm very mindful while I'm at work. You see how I look very presentable. The way I came to the interview is the way I go to the job. A lot of you girls go to the interview looking like Marge Simpson and go to the job looking like Patty and Selma. Not demure. I'm very modest, mindful. Okay, I get it. She went on, and there's a few other people that said they coined the term demure a few years ago. There's a couple things that are also considered demure, according to a lot of these. It's how you exit a plane. Are you loud and obnoxious, or do you just wait? You know how when the plane lands, Kodi, and and I hate this too, and I'm with these girls. When the plane lands, and you're in coach, sadly, but or not sadly, but and everybody wants to get up and get their stuff out, and you're like in row 15 or row 20, and it's like, come. And I'm always on an aisle. I only sit in the aisle. I will only, if I'm in coach, only the aisle. But people next to me are like getting up and they're trying to, I'm like, hold on a second. We have the first class hasn't even, we haven't even opened the door yet, first off. Secondly, first class hasn't even gotten out. So we've got some time here, way over here in row 15. So you just sit down now, simmer down now is what I like to say. And it's like, just be demure. Wait your turn. We will get to you. We will all get our bags out, but you all know those people. So in a way, I'm kind of for the demure, but it's to me common sense. And why do we got to be like demure when we can still be Brat?
I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. I think you can still be demure and still be Brat. I am successfully doing both right now, okay? So I'm here for demure. I am here for Brat. Let's do it all. Let's encompass it all. Let's have fun and be respectable at the same time. How about that, darling? You can call that the Kodi.
Okay, I do like that. Yeah, I think, yeah, we'll see if this really picks up or not, but yeah, I don't know. There was a bunch of other topics before we get to thirst trap, and I would like for you to pick the one that we talk about. Do you have your list ready?
Yeah, we're gonna do a Reddit.
You want to do a Reddit, or there was the what are you saying during sex? There was the muscles.
That was really good. I do want to do that one.
Or the muscles.
No, I like the what are you going to do say during sex?
Okay, so the gays were asking the question, and it was recently on a popular podcast of drag race queens, correct? And I'm talking about Trixie and Katya.
Yes.
And their podcast called The Bald and the Beautiful. And in that, they were asking the question, what do you actually, well, it was actually a whole exchange that they were going on about gay men and what do you call our private parts, our genitals and our butts. And they said pussy is out, octopussy is in, stuff like that. And then the conversation went to gay men, and they asked the question, what do you say? And they said, do they say like fuck my butt? And Katya says, devolving into a laugh, like when we're having sex. And Trixie goes, who's they? They weren't really getting anywhere with what they were trying to say. But
Yeah.
ultimately, after laughing a lot, they wanted to ask the question, what do gay men actually say when they're having sex? So I ask you, Kodi, are you a
Hmm.
talker in bed? And what do you actually say when you're having sex?
So yes, I'm an extreme talker. And the thing that I think Trixie and Katya were trying to get to is, do we call it a pussy in bed? And I am totally against calling it a pussy in bed. Uh, I think
Yeah, but they
that
weren't really making a point, I don't think, that
I don't
much.
think they were, but they were beating around the bush because I think that's what they wanted to ask so bad is, do we call it a pussy? We are
But then the
men.
question came up, like, what do you actually say to another man?
Yes.
Like, what do gay men actually say in bed? Or, a lot of people are silent.
Yeah. Well, what I say is, because I've had sex with girls and I like to differentiate between an actual vagina and what I'm having fun with over here. And I think that what I have found I have enjoyed the most is whole. I really like it when guys refer to their ass as whole, but also ass is much better because I like the visual or the mental image of fucking an ass. I just think it's so hot. Also, you don't even have to mention it at all. You can say fuck me harder. You can say yes, daddy, give it
Yeah.
to me. As long as you
Thank
got
you.
daddy in
Because
there, I'm a
I
good
must
boy.
have, yeah, I must have misinterpreted what the whole point of this was because while they were talking about certain like body parts or like, what do you say? I thought they can't be talking about that. I thought they meant like, what do gay men when they're having sex actually say to each other, not what they refer to the body. Like that seems so clinical. And
Yeah.
like, I'm not having that conversation with the person I'm having sex with. Like to me, my boyfriend and I will have sex and he'll say it's all yours, it's all yours, like he gives me
Ooh.
like license to kind of go there, and it's like really hot and I get really like turned on by that, and I say stuff that are kind of in that vein too, that are really passionate and hot and not body part per se, like the clinical side of it. It's just really like going there stuff. What do you
Oh
say?
yeah. I agree with that. I think that that's what really gets me the hardest. Good boy. You say I'm your good boy. That gets my dick
Good
hard in
boy.
0.5 seconds. Who's a good boy? Oh my god.
Oh
I just made
wow.
myself hot.
Good boy. Interesting choice.
Yeah.
Bryce says, I
Ooh.
say ass, but then he also says, if a guy isn't saying, I love you, I can't have sex.
Oh, that's not for
Wow. Well,
everybody,
that's a
Bailey.
whole other discussion because sometimes people want the hard and the nasty, and then they want the I love yous maybe pre and post.
Yeah.
That's a whole different discussion, but it does bring up an interesting point. Like, what do you actually say in bed? And I think nasty talk can be really good, and aggressive talk can be hot. I don't
It's
want to really talk
necessary.
about body parts, like the actual names of these things, though. Do you?
Not really. I like a nice ass and a nice hole. It gives a nice mental visual, but I think that talking
Yeah, I
during
guess.
sex, it
Yeah.
really enhances the experience for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you're living in small, contained apartments like a lot of us do in the big cities, you can always whisper and you
No,
don't need to be shouting. You don't need to be shouting. No,
but I
lean
do.
into someone's ear. Well, you could, but I'm just saying if you're worried about that, don't let that detour you. A trick is whisper in their ears. And if you're behind them,
Mm,
lean in and whisper to their ears. That's erotic as it is,
that's
and
really
you
hot
don't have
too.
to be screaming. In fact, if somebody's screaming too loud, I actually, even if I'm not in, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, did you need a microphone? What's going on? Why are you shouting? This isn't a
Have two
scream
in the living
fest.
room.
I don't like all that. Yeah, we use microphones a lot on the show. I don't need all that for my sex moment, but hey, whatever works for you. And oh my gosh, we have to go to our favorite segment that we like to it's produced by Straight Up Gay Porn, and it's Thirst Trap Recap. And this week, they are asking the question, which of these 18 gay porn stars took the best photo? I will post this on TAGSPodcast.com and on our Patreon page. You, live virtual audience, I put the link in the comment section, so have a look there. Which out of these 18 gay porn stars on an audio podcast, Kodi, so you got to vividly describe, took your fancy and why?
So I'm gonna go with Andres Milan. He is what appears to be a wooded sauna, and he's sweating down deep. He's got these nice, beautiful jet black hair and a beard. Got a couple of sparse tattoos. And he's in the sauna standing up, and he's facing the camera, and he's just got his underwear pulled down, and he's got this big, hard, uncut cock just plopping out. It looks like when you walk into the sauna, you see this, and he's like, "Get on your knees, bitch." And that's the kind of experience I'm trying to have in the sauna.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot. That's a good description and really good. I like that too. I like Andre Milan as well, and I'm sure he'll do really well. There was a lot of like shower moments, including Matthew Gray, that got my fancy. That was a really good angle, kind of looking down. He had the camera up, but he was in a bathroom stall. It looked like maybe a shower, or I don't know what was going on, but I see water down there. But he has a really nice dick and a nice bush the way it's cut too. I don't like too much bush. I like it cut, trimmed, and nice. He's looking really tasty. But I was going back and forth between Roxas Kalem, who is literally looking like he's on a ranch with this huge dick and a game. Do you see which one I'm talking about? It's like
I'm
a
looking right now.
game. So the clouds are
so
gray and really dark. He's on a huge ranch with green grass behind him, which looks really lovely. And I love the outdoors like that. He has a really cool fedora on. His body's amazing. He's got the thickest dick. He's black, huge, lovely thighs, and he's holding this donut that for this game. What is that game? Somebody tell me, what is that game?
I have no idea.
Where you put those
like...
in, I think you gotta you gotta latch
Connect
the
4.
white.
That's what it is.
Is it Connect 4?
It is,
but
Connect
a
4,
life size Connect
exactly.
4.
It's a bigger version.
I want to play Connect 4 with him
Let's get a big
naked
Connect
on
4.
that ranch.
Oh, sorry.
I want to do it naked on a ranch, but maybe I'll do it with my boyfriend naked somewhere, and that would be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't it? Oh, my God.
For sure.
Okay. What does everybody say?
Bryce says Andres Milan for him, too.
Yes. Bryce says Stevie wants a guy to whisper just like how Janet Jackson tries to sing. I like her whispery vocal, so maybe you're right.
Me too.
But he also says Andre Milan for me. By the way, Janet Jackson is about to announce her tour at the World's Hotel or World's. It's a newer hotel that I saw in Vegas. Actually, it's really high end and really hot. In December, she's going to start. So shout out to that. Keep voting because it keeps that segment going on Straight Up Gay Porn, and we appreciate them. Don't forget, tomorrow it is our Patreon live stream, and you can still grab a tier up until we go live at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And when you grab a tier, you're supporting Tags Podcast, but you'll get our live stream tomorrow. If you're not free, you'll get it to watch it whenever you want, but we will be live sharing stories that we don't get to share on this show. We're going to go into more personal tales and stories of our own life that are we figured this out. We're going to have a whole different studio set up, a whole camera set up with a different camera. It's going to be kind of cool. And then Kodi's going to be singing live 4 songs, including Talk About It, his current single out now. And yeah, we're really excited about it. You can go to patreon.com/tags podcast, grab a tier, and you'll be entered to watch us live. You can follow Kodi. He's a life coach. Follow him on the gram. I am _ KMD Coaching, KMD Coaching, or his personal account at Mr. Maurice. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V. Go to my Twitter account at TAGSPodcast, where you get a preview of my Just for Fans and Only Fans. And I'm producing content every week, collaborating this week as well. So check that out.
Ooh.
And in the meantime, continue having hot, gay
Yay.
sex, just like Janet.